Hello fellow duelists, this is Shadow of the Moon, and today I'm going to be showing you an updated deck profile of my Infernity deck for November of 2022. I meant to actually make this in the deck profiles for Halloween, but I ended up running out of time for it and decided just to go ahead and show you the actual deck profile as is. This deck, other than, unfortunately, Crystron Hackufrax was banned, so I had to change this deck around quite a bit, and I actually got a help from a YouTuber called Nap, and he's a very good Infernity player, and actually had some really good combos and a really great deck profile, and helped me make this into more of a Infernity Punk deck. Now the Infernity engine is very small. There's only about 4 cards in there, and then the E-Telly. But all in all, this deck honestly is very fast now, and I actually feel like it's a lot better than it was before. Meaning that it's easy to be able to synchro climb, and you can actually get more negates and more of an actual field presence by the time if you're going first. Now, obviously, yes, hand traps are a thing, and as a result, if someone ashes you, or if someone like as an imperm effect fail or whatever, it is going to cripple your chance. But I just want to be able to show you the actual deck profile, and then I will be doing a video on combos and test hands for you, just like I always do. I'll be doing another 2-card combo video. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and finally get straight on into it. But I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers and all the people that watch my video. You guys are awesome. You guys rock. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started on the deck profile. As you can see, I'm going to be using Baron LaFleur because Baron, believe it or not, is very easy to get out in this deck, because you just need a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon and you need a level 2 Infernity Sage. So first off, we're going to be copying one copy of Infernity Archfiend. Infernity Archfiend is obviously the main monster of the deck. You're going to be recycling this guy constantly, because when you control no cards in your hand, when this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can, and you have no cards in your hand, you can add an Infernity card from your deck to your hand, meaning you can add an Infernity Barrier, you can add an Infernity Launcher, you can add an Infernity Monster, whatever you want. And the main strategy of this deck, for it to be consistent, is you're going to be constantly recycling Necromancer, Sage, and Infernity Archfiend, since there is only 1 copy of Sage, 1 copy of Infernity Archfiend, and then 2 copies of Necromancer. Alright, and then we have 1 copy of Infernity Patriarch. Patriarch is just a quick special summon. If you control no cards in your hand, you can special summon this card from your hand, and also has the ability, if your monster were to be destroyed by battle or something, you could remove from play, or destroyed by a card, you can remove this play from your graveyard instead. And then 3 copies of Infernity Wildcat, because I still am using Wildcat. Wildcat is still a great extender for this deck. So basically how Wildcat works is you discard an Infernity card to special summon this from your hand, and then you can choose an Infernity monster, banish it, and as a result, you can either make this card a level 2, either keep it a level 3, or make it a level 4, going into your level 8 plays, level 6 plays, however you want to do, to make it a lot easier to be able to go into your synchros, because this deck actually has quite a bit amount of synchros in here. And then we have 1 copy of Infernity Conjure. If you control no cards in your hand, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, except you just banish it when it leaves the field. It's a great extender for the deck. And then 2 Necromancers. Necromancers is one of the most important cards in the deck. So how this works is, if you control no cards in your hand and this card is summoned, you can special summon 1 Infernity monster from your graveyard. So how that's going to work out is, the object is to get both of these, your Infernity Archfiend and your Infernity Sage, into the graveyard as quick as possible, turbo them out as possible, so that way you can constantly use its effect to special summon them back to the field over and over again, using Infernity Mirage to tribute to special summon these 2. This will special summon Sage. It's a constant combo to be able. You're literally spamming their effects over again. And then the idea is to use 100 Eyes Dragon's effect to make it a Mirage, and then use its effect to obviously tribute it to get back all the monsters. Okay, then we have 1 copy of Sage. You only want to see Sage in this deck once, honestly, in my opinion, because this is the card you want to put in the graveyard. You do not want to see it in your hand, because you want to be able to make sure that it's in your graveyard as quick as possible, and drawing into it, since there is no special summon ability that it has and stuff. But when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send another Infernity monster from your deck to the graveyard. So obviously what you're going to want to do is use Fiendish Rhino Warrior. You're going to send this to the graveyard, and then you're going to send Infernity Archfiend, or you're going to send Infernity Necromancer. And then 2 copies of Infernity Mirage. This card cannot be special summoned from the graveyard, but obviously you're not using it for that ability. You're going to be using it for the effect of tributing it to special summon up to 2 Infernity monsters from your graveyard. So obviously this card can be banished, using Infernity Mirages or 100 Eyes Dragon effect to make it in a Mirage, and then from there you're going to be tributing that to special summon the 2 monsters, and then using Levere Dragon to bring it back into the graveyard so you can recycle that effect again. Okay, and then that's it for the Infernity monsters. Now we're going to move on to the tech cards. Obviously, 3 copies of Tour Guide of the Underworld. This is important. You normal summon this card. You can special summon a level 3 monsters from your deck and just negate its effect, but obviously you're going to be using it for Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Speaking of which, one Fiendish Rhino Warrior, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send a monster from your deck to the graveyard. And then you've got Stygian Street Patrol. This is going to be in here because Stygian Street Patrol will make it to where you banish this card to be able to special summon a card from your hand to kind of empty out your hand and also to get a card that you would need for your combos. And then lastly, for the monsters, you're going to see I am running the P.U.N.K engine. First off is no P.U.N.K Zamin. Zamin is great because you can use this using Emergency Teleport. When this card is obviously this special summoned, you can add from your deck to your hand a P.U.N.K monster. So obviously the object of the idea is to add either Ghost Dance or Foxy Tune. And from there you're going to use Foxy Tune's effect to discard a card from your hand to special summon another one from the deck. Overlay or send these two to the graveyard for your Link monster for your Cherubini. Use Cherubini's effect to get Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and then from there dump Sage. Sage dumps Necromancer and Infernity Archfiend, so it works really well with the combo. And then obviously you've got your no P.U.N.K Ogre Dance. Once returned, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quickly you can do this card. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using this special summon this card from your hand. You can send this card from your hand to the field or to the graveyard to add a P.U.N.K monster from your deck to your hand. So you're going to be adding. Mainly, you're going to be adding Foxy Tune. I do apologize. I do not have Foxy Tune right now. I do plan on getting one soon. They are about $15 or so. And they can be somewhat expensive, so I'm thinking about getting maybe a Japanese one. But the main thing about Foxy Tune is your main card in this deck because you can discard this card and you can discard a monster to special summon a monster from your deck that is not a level 8. Meaning you would special summon the Zamin. And from there, use 2 of those Zamins, like I said before, to link summon into Cherubini. Alright, so that's going to be it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. So obviously Infernity Launcher. You activate this card, you can discard a card from your hand to the graveyard, and then if you have no cards in your hand, you contribute this to special summon up to 2 Infernity monsters. So it's very important in the deck. I do wish, obviously, with this one and Archfiend being at 3, but obviously that was never going to happen. So it's just, it keeps meaning like Archfiends or Infernities are constantly getting hit by stuff on the ban list that's there to literally help them. And I know why, but at the same time, it is kind of frustrating because we don't have Return of the Reaper yet for this deck to make this deck a little more consistent, so we have to use what we have. And then 1 Infernity Paranoia. Infernity Paranoia, you contribute an Infernity monster to special summon one from your deck with the same level. And then 3 copies of World Legacy Suppression. This is pretty much going to be your Monster Reborn. You can special summon a level 4 or lower monster to a link zone that a monster points to. As long as you have a Link monster, so it acts as kind of like a Monster Reborn. 3 Void Apocalypse, because it lets you discard cards from your hand, and obviously Void Apocalypse can also be there for a discard fodder to help. And then a new card that I've added to this deck to really get it going is Transmodify. So Transmodify is great because it can make you get rid of your Necromancer, just send it to the graveyard to be able to special summon Infernity Launcher, and then activate Infernity Launcher's effect to bring back a or to add a Infernity card from your deck to your hand. So that's really consistent. And this is a great tech card. I highly recommend that you play this because it is very useful, because it can make you level climb. You can go from a level 2 to level 3. Obviously, what you can do is, if you have a Sage, you can get rid of that Sage to special summon a Necromancer, and then so I mean, it's very useful. And then we have 3 copies of E-Telly. E-Telly, obviously, you special summon a Psychic type monster to your side of the field, but banish it during the end phase, but you're going to be using that for the Zamin. And then 1 copy of 1 for 1 to discard a card to special summon a level 1 monster. And then you're going to play Monster Reborn. Obviously, this is going to be this is an extender of the deck. This is going to let you special summon a monster from your graveyard. So you're going to want to target Necromancer, obviously. And then Foolish Burial to get you started to be able to put cards from your deck into the graveyard. So that's going to be it for the spells. Let's move on to the traps. And we're only running 3 traps in here, obviously. You're going to have 3 copies of Infernity Barrier. So most people nowadays don't really play this. I actually find this very useful because, for one thing, Infernity Barrier, if you have a face-up Infernity monster, you can negate a spell trap or a monster effect, which is very easy to do, because if you got these on the field, you've got 2 of these, you've got 4 for Appaloosa, and you've got a Borreload Savage Dragon, and you also have a Baron LaFleur. That in total is going to be about 9 or 10 negates. So that's very, very, very good for this deck. I love Infernity Barrier because it's a very good trap overall. So that's going to be it for the main deck. Let's move on finally to the extra deck. So first off, Baron LaFleur. Very easy to make with this deck. You just need a Starving Venom Fury Dragon and your Infernity Sage, and there you go. And Baron LaFleur really helps the deck out a lot. 2 copies of 100 Eyes Dragon. This is going to be your target for the Infernity Mirage. You're going to make it an Infernity Mirage with its effect, and then you're going to recycle the effect. And it's easy to get these 2 onto the field. 1 copy of Void Ogre Dragon, because you can, when your opponent activates a spell trap while you have no cards in your hand, you can negate the activation and destroy it on their turn. And then Drake Berserker of the Tenyai. Obviously, you can use Borreload Savage Dragon if you want. This is also a stand-in, more of a budget option because Borreload can be somewhat expensive, but this negates monster effects and can banish them. And then we have 2 copies of Infernity Doom Archfiend because it can negate a face-up monster's effect, and it does count because if you've got this, obviously it's a great target with conjunction with Infernity Barrier because it's a 2200 monster, so don't have to worry about it being too weak. And then for the fusions, we've got 1 copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This is going to be your target for the Proxy Magician. And then number 60, this is going to help you special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense position, or discard 2 cards and draw a card. And then you got Lavir the Sea Dragon. This is going to allow you to special summon a monster that was banished. So obviously you're going to be targeting Mirage. And then you've got 2 copies of Skull Dread. Skull Dread, mainly you're going to be using Skull Dread's effect, that you can special summon a card from your hand, and that you're going to be using its effect to obviously get a little bit more attack power and stuff, but mainly you're going to be using it for that other effect, definitely. And then we've got 1 copy, obviously, of Appaloosa, because you can easily get 4 negates on her. 1 copy of Cherubini, Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss, one of the best cards in this deck, because this is going to allow you to dump and place those Fiendish Rhino Warriors or whatever monsters that you need into the graveyard to be able to keep going into your plays. And then 1 copy of the new Proxy F Magician that I actually started trying out. So, okay, Proxy F Magician is a great card and a great tech card, because how it works is you can send 2 monsters from your field to the graveyard to fusion summon a monster from your extra deck to a link that this points to, and then in return this will allow you to special summon a monster from your hand. So obviously you're going to be wanting to special summon Necromancer, because Necromancer will then activate its effect, like I've said before, to special summon from the graveyard. So this is a great tech card. I highly recommend this. And then that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love this deck because of just how creative it is. Sadly, like I've said before, we do not have a lot of the cards that they have in the OCG, and a lot of the OCGs, the ban list is a lot different. But all in all, I still think this is a great deck. I love this deck to pieces. And the best thing to know about Infernities in general is that you do not want to have more than a certain number of monsters. And I try to limit and not have any cards that allow me to draw, because you don't want to draw those cards. You want to be able to make sure that your hand is completely empty, and the more cards you have in your hand, obviously the more likely you are to draw something that you don't need that will completely brick your hand. Alright, so that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed, and with that, see you guys next time. Later.